number one tip if you're going freelance and you're new to freelance. Usually we do tips and tricks on how to thrive as a freelancer, but I thought today do something slightly different and put my money where my mouth is. Because I did freelance for a long time. No bells, no whistles, no frills, no waffle. But what I will do is give you the tea on my experience from having worked in large corporate, amazing digital agencies to the point of knowing that I needed to work for myself. When people say about the right time to go freelance, a lot of people talk about having savings in the bank and all of this kind of stuff. I had none of that. But for me, I definitely knew I was ready. I was so mentally checked out of agency life and working for other people and everything else that goes with employment and the lack of freedom with it, that I knew it was the right time. People say, well, go freelance, never the right time, but do it anyway, feel fear, do it anyway, all of that kind of jazz, which is fair enough. But what do you actually do? So step by step, here are the things that I did when I went freelance. The first was to have a contract lined up. So my agency, one of the agencies that I previously worked with, needed someone for 3 months as an interim contract, 4 days a week, to help manage some stuff. So I went and did that for them. That 3 months gave me a brilliant combination of stability, but not enough to rest on my laurels and to not try and find new clients. Because I knew after 3 months, game over, that was it. During those first 3 months, and still now actually, I talk to anyone and everyone, because you never know who and when a contact might turn into an incredible opportunity. So during those first 3 months, I got a random phone call out of the blue where my name was on a list from some networking event that I'd been to donkey's months before, and it was from this guy who was in real dire straits and needed some support from digital support. And he originally rang me thinking I was still at my old agency, but actually I was now freelancing, got to chatting. I was thinking, do you know what? This actually sounds like something I might be able to help with. So I just got the guts to have that discussion with him. And I said, look, I've got a ton of agency experience and digital experience, but I'm new to freelance and I'm building my portfolio of clients. So if you are willing to give me a shot, I'm willing to, work for this fixed rate, which is probably lower than market average. But if you're willing to take the chance, I've got the experience and let's get you sorted. And to this day, that guy is one of my greatest friends and was the person who put his faith in me to give me the confidence to keep freelancing. Moral of the story is, as a freelancer, talk to everybody and anybody, but not with the intention of making a sale, just with the intention of making a connection, because you never quite know when that will come to fruition. And that one conversation was the fuel to my freelance career for a very long time. And it gave me a really nice steady contract for months and months and months, so that I could then have the breathing space to layer in other clients around him. And as you're going through different types of clients, I think it's really important to test and try all different types of clients. Some will be a pain in the arse, some will be brilliant. And I actually think there's an immense amount of value to learn from working with the clients that other people wouldn't work with. When I woke up on January the 1st, knowing that was going to be my first year of self-employment, holy moly, was that incredible. However, I was in no way, shape or form prepared for what was to come. We have a saying in the old school freelancer world, which is work 5 days, get paid for 2, because nothing can prepare you for the amount of time that goes into learning how to do the admin, learning how to do your invoicing, learning how to register your business, learning the accounts, blah, 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 and all of the other stuff that goes with running a business. And I totally underestimated that. I really, really underestimated that. There are lots of ways you can mitigate that now, obviously with ChatGPT. That wasn't around in 2017 because I'm elderly. But that, if one of my takeaways for you is no matter how much research and diligence or due diligence you do around that, I personally don't think you can ever prepare for how much you will have to do and how much you will have to learn. However, personally, still to this day believe that digital agency life, if you want to be a digital marketing freelancer, is without doubt the number one best thing that you can do before you go freelance. You are exposed to so many business related processes that will inadvertently help you by almost like via osmosis. You're learning stuff just by being in an agency that you will then apply to your freelance career. If you are sat in an agency's four walls, you will likely come across invoicing, contracts, different departments, sales teams, how are they pitching, how are they talking, what's the language they're using, how to structure documents, all of this kind of thing that you take for granted when you're in those four walls of an agency. And if you're in an agency right now, get into as many pitches as you possibly can, because the learnings that you will get from experiencing pitching, pulling together pitch narratives, pulling together teams to help a collective narrative to get the deal, that stuff is gold dust. And if I was to leave you with anything today, then it's that. So my next bit of advice, or not advice because that's such a douchey word, but my next learning is to celebrate the small wins along the way. You know your trade, you know what you're doing, but to apply that in a freelance environment is very, very, very different. My first ever client gave me the confidence and the reassurance that I could do this by myself. First time I went on holiday without having to submit a holiday form, that was unreal and one of my favourite bits of all time of going freelance. Registering for VAT sounds bloody boring for most people. It actually kind of is, and actually now that I've been doing it for 6 years, but boring, but still a milestone. All of these little bits that happen that would not generally happen in your corporate day-to-day are worthy of celebrating and noting because they are huge. I would say one of the biggest things that I've learned from freelance is that it's quite simple to stand out as being really good, because I will never ever be the best digital strategist or the best SEO, etc. But what I will always do is make sure that I do what I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do it. And I will also say when I don't know. So those three things, or two things, I feel like are like my keys to success, because that's what I put at the front and centre of everything that I do. And if you do that as a freelancer, my God, does A, it set you apart from the rest of the crowd, and B, it makes difficult conversations with clients a lot easier. Number one tip is to value the basics. Since I set up Interim as this kind of community connector model in 2021, I've spoken to over 150-ish freelancers, and there are quite a few, who don't do that. And it's infuriating for agencies and it's infuriating for clients. Once you get going with freelance, there's I call it two different variants of scary. The first is the first kind of 3 to 6 months when you first go freelance. You're not really sure what you're doing. I mean, so new, especially if you'd worked agency side or corporate side for as long as I had. You've got this whole world of opportunity around you, and it can feel quite daunting and quite terrifying. But once you get into the swing of things and you get slightly more used to your own freedom, and your own clients, and you identify as a freelancer as opposed to someone who works for someone else, the fear shifts, and that fear then becomes, oh my god, I never want to go back to corporate, so what the hell can I do to make sure that doesn't happen? And that's not because I have absolutely nothing against corporate life and working inside agencies. I love agencies, FYI. Flipping love them. I love the speed that they work at. I love when you get a great client services team and they really care about what they're doing. I love all of that. However, I was in it for 10 years. It was enough for me by then. And for me, that lit a fire and a drive that in me that kept me going and kept me pushing outreach, kept me pushing to get in with people and chatting to people and trying to open as many doors as is physically possible. And the biggest thing, really, I've said the biggest thing multiple times because there's loads of big things, but this really is a big one. It's not quick. There's nothing quick about freelancing. Digital marketing freelancing is not a quick win. You do need experience. You do need guts and grit and a bit of delusional optimism to be able to do it. You do need a really thick skin. I think I was very fortunate actually to work in the sales teams of my agencies, not my agencies, but the agencies I work for. And that gave me an incredibly robust ability to deal with rejection. So you will get rejected and you will get ghosted and you'll do proposals and you'll never hear back and all of that stuff. But because I've been in sales teams, I knew what that felt like. So I never took it personally. I've spoken to lots of friends who are in the delivery teams at agencies and they've said, well, oh my God, I can't believe how many people aren't getting back to me. I think I just took that for granted because no one ever got back to me. And that can be quite a big mental blocker for a lot of freelancers. You will have what we call empty board months in sales where there's nothing on the table. But all of the celebrating of those little quick wins will continue to give you the confidence to know that when your board is empty, it will fill up again. But you have to make sure that happens. And the board always fills up again, even when it feels like it really won't. It will, as long as you keep consistent with the graft. That's all that it takes. And what freelancing taught me was that actually I'm not particularly passionate about digital. I like it and I enjoy it and I like talking strategy, but there are millions of people who are much, much better at it than I am. So what freelancing gave me was the springboard into running interim and running my business as opposed to running kind of as a freelancer. And for that, I will forever be grateful to freelancing. So there we go. So that was kind of my journey from corporate to freelance. No glam, no glitz. It can be pretty shit at times. It can be pretty awesome at times. But I would say if you're on the fence with it, then give it a go. Because the worst thing that will happen is you'll just go and get another job. That is literally the worst thing that will happen. But if you don't take the action to give freelancing a go, you will never ever know if it will be either the worst decision or the best decision that you'll ever make in your career history. So if you are a freelancer or you're looking to become a freelancer and you're looking for some authentic, down-to-earth tips and tricks when it comes to thriving as a freelancer, tune in because that's what we cover. And if there are any particular subjects or bits of content that you really want us to dive in on, then let me know in the comments because I will absolutely do that. But if you're here to hear about quick wins and how to hack it and you need no experience and you can make 6 figures in 6 months, then you're in the wrong place. Sorry about that one.